Today we're going to talk about a star player who was traded at back-to-back deadlines in the middle of his career, and was even traded a third time between those two deadlines. This player had a short but highlight-filled exciting career. I'm talking, of course, about Yoenis Cespedes. Now we're going to do something a little bit different in this trade tree. I'm not going to start with the earliest trade in his career, because that one is just a little bit less interesting. One of the sides is only free agents, so the trade tree is going to start with the second trade, but I do want to talk about his career up to that point. So we're going to flash all the way back to 2012 to start our story. February of that year is when a 26-year-old Cuban defector, Yoenis Cespedes, signed a 4-year contract with the Oakland Athletics. And he became a star right away. He slugged 23 homers, stole 17 bases, and put up a 139 OPS plus as a rookie, finishing second in Rookie of the Year voting behind Mike Trout, and even receiving votes for MVP. His 2013 and early 2014 were a little bit slowed by injuries, but he was still impressive. He won back-to-back home run derbies, he posted above-average numbers both years, and in 2014 he was named to the All-Star game. The first half in 2014 for the A's was phenomenal, as they neared the deadline with the best record in baseball and a top-5 offense. Oakland spent July improving their pitching depth, bringing in starters Jeff Samardzija and Jason Hamill in a deal with the Cubs. Now if you want to know more about that one, I've actually covered it in a separate trade tree. I've linked that one in the description, so go check that one out. You can find out how that trade actually gave the Cubs some of the pieces they needed to break their curse. But even after that trade, Billy Beane felt they needed another starter, and what ensued was one of the more stunning deadline trades in recent memory. On July 31st, 2014, the A's shipped Cespedes to the last-place Red Sox. The trade left the locker room in shock, as Cespedes was a leader and arguably the face of their franchise. In return, the A's got starter Jon Lester and outfielder Jonny Gomes, two pending free agents. Lester had just appeared in the All-Star game, and he kept up that level of play the rest of the season. In 11 starts, he had a 6-4 record, a 1.59 ERA+, and put up 1.8 WAR. Now, unfortunately, Billy Beane's gamble to trade some of their offensive prowess for pitching help backfired, and their offense imploded following the trade. Not only did they fall behind the Angels in the division race, but they nearly missed the playoffs entirely. Beane credits the performance of Lester down the stretch as a significant reason they actually managed to stay in the hunt and get into the playoffs. The A's played the wildcard game against the Royals, which Lester started, and despite a great performance by him, pitching into the 8th inning and leaving with a 7-4 lead, the A's ended up blowing that lead and losing 9-8 in the 12th inning. Lester then left as a free agent. Jonny Gomes was more of a throw-in here, but he spent the rest of 2014 as the A's 4th outfielder, occasionally getting starts in left field and at DH. And while he was well-liked, as he tended to be everywhere he played in his career, he didn't perform on the field well at all. He put up a 66 OPS plus and minus .5 WAR in his 34 games. Gomes didn't get a plate appearance in the wildcard game, and then also left as a free agent. So between Lester and Gomes, the A's got 1.3 WAR by trading Cespedes. Cespedes became the starting left fielder for the Red Sox for the rest of the season, and he was fine there, though not quite as good as he'd been the last 2.5 years with Oakland. In 51 games, he slashed .269, .296, .423 for a 98 OPS plus and 1.5 WAR. Despite his great defense, many in Boston were disappointed with his lack of production at the plate, and rumors swirled that Cespedes wasn't happy as a Red Sox. Following the season, Boston began to work on rebuilding their team, and they signed many free agents, one of whom was Hanley Ramirez, who they intended to take over left field from Cespedes. Then they shipped out Cespedes to improve their rotation, which brings us to the start of our tree. On December 11th, 2014, Boston struck a deal with the Detroit Tigers, and they acquired starting pitcher Rick Porcello, and in return they sent the Tigers pitchers Gabe Speier and Alex Wilson and Yoenis Cespedes. Porcello was a year from free agency, but the Red Sox immediately extended him for 4 years and $82 million, keeping him in Boston through 2019. His 5 years in Boston were wildly inconsistent, with the only constant being his durability. He pitched at least 170 innings and made at least 28 starts each year. He had one of his worst seasons to that point in 2015, pitching to a 9-15 record and an 87 ERA+. But his 2016 was nothing short of remarkable. Porcello led baseball with 22 wins, if that's a stat you care about. I know a lot of people don't, but some people do. He also finished third in the AL in ERA+ and second in FIP. And despite fellow Cy Young finalists Justin Verlander and Corey Kluber having arguably better seasons than him, and Verlander even receiving more votes for first place, Porcello surprisingly and controversially won the 2016 Cy Young Award. Porcello finished out the final 3 years of his contract with the Red Sox as basically a bottom-of-the-rotation innings eater. He led MLB in losses and home runs given up in 2017, and over the 3 seasons put up a 96 ERA+ and a 1.3 FIP. He was decent in the 2018 run to the World Series as a depth starter and occasional late-inning reliever, but he did matter. He helped them win a World Series. Following the end of his contract after the 2019 season, Porcello left in free agency. Across 964 innings in Boston, he put up 8.1 WAR. And now for the pieces that Detroit got. Spire spent 2015 in their system, and then after the year was moved to the Braves for outfielder Cameron Maybin. Maybin had a really good 2016 as the Tigers starter in center field. In 91 games, he batted .315 and had a 118 OPS+. He wasn't really good defensively though, so he only put up 1.7 WAR. Following the season, Maybin was traded to the Angels for pitching prospect Victor Alcantara. Alcantara reached the majors in September of 2017, and he spent parts of the next 3 years in the Tigers' bullpen. And he was okay. He put up a 110 ERA plus and a FIP over 5 across 80 career innings, and 1.3 WAR. Following the 2019 season, he left as a free agent. Alex Wilson joined the Tigers' pen right after the trade, and he spent the next 4 years there. And he was actually very good. He was pretty underrated during his time there. Despite not striking out that many batters, he put up a great 135 ERA plus and 5.7 WAR across more than 260 innings. Following the 2018 season, Wilson left as a free agent. And our centerpiece, Yoenis Cespedes, he rebounded to start 2015 in Detroit. Through 102 games, he had a career-high 293 average, a 125 OPS plus, and an absurd 4.2 WAR. That success, along with his expiring contract and the struggles of the rest of the Tigers team, made him one of the more coveted players at that year's deadline. On July 31st, 2015, a year to the day from his first trade, Cespedes was moved again, this time sent to the Mets. And in return, Detroit got 2 pitching prospects, Michael Fulmer and Yoenis Cespedes. Fulmer reached the majors in April of 2016, and he had a phenomenal rookie year. In 26 starts, he put up a 139 ERA plus and 5.4 WAR, and he even threw a complete game shutout. He was voted the AL Rookie of the Year at the end of the season, and he even got some votes for Cy Young. Fulmer followed that up with a solid 2017, making the All-Star game and putting up a 117 ERA plus in 25 starts. Unfortunately, injuries began to trouble Fulmer in 2018, and he put up the worst numbers of his career so far. And he eventually missed all of 2019, recovering from Tommy John surgery. For the COVID year 2020, Fulmer acted as an opener. He made 10 starts and averaged less than 3 innings per start, and he was really bad. He put up a 52 ERA plus and a whip over 2. So heading into 2021, Fulmer was moved to the bullpen, and he was actually really effective there. He put up his career best in FIP and strikeouts per 9. And he kept up that pace in the first half of 2022, up until the deadline, and with Fulmer approaching free agency and the Tigers still out of contention, they traded him. He finished his time in Detroit with 12.2 WAR. Fulmer was traded to the Twins for pitching prospect Sawyer Gipson-Long. Gipson-Long reached the majors in September of 2023, and he made 4 starts the rest of the month. And he looked really good. He put up a 1-0 record with a 3.16 FIP, a 1.1 WHIP, and .4 WAR. Unfortunately, he did just get Tommy John surgery this year, so he's going to miss the entire 2024 season. But he could be a solid piece in the Tigers' young rotation when he returns in 2025. Now, all the way back to Yoenis Cespedes, he finished his 2015 in the Tigers system, and then he was traded. He was paired with fellow reliever Chad Green and sent to the Yankees for relief pitcher Justin Wilson. Wilson spent the next year and a half in the Tigers' bullpen, and he was very good. Across 99 innings, he put up a 123 ERA plus, a 3.2 FIP, and 2.3 WAR. In early 2017, he became the closer, and he put up 13 saves in 15 opportunities. At the 2017 deadline, Wilson was paired with catcher Alex Avila and traded to the Cubs for infielders Jeimer Candelario and Yoenis Paredes. Candelario spent the next 5.5 seasons mostly as the Tigers' primary third baseman, though he did have a couple years where he played more first, and he was generally a solid bat for them with a 99 OPS plus across his time in Detroit. Following the 2022 season, Candelario left in free agency, and as a Tiger he put up 7.5 WAR. Yoenis Paredes reached the majors with the Tigers in 2020 and had a few short stints with the big club over the next 2 years. And he really didn't perform that well. He batted just .215, he had an OPS under 600, and he put up minus .5 WAR. Following the 2021 season, Paredes was traded with a comp pick to the Rays for outfielder Austin Meadows. Meadows spent the next 2 years with Detroit and unfortunately barely played due to various physical and mental health issues. In his 42 games, he never homered, and he put up a 90 OPS plus and .5 WAR. He became a free agent following the 2023 season, and to this point, hasn't played professionally since. So that brings the Tigers to a total of 35.1 WAR just from this trade. And that's a number that could continue to grow if Sawyer Gipson-Long returns to the majors and performs well. But before we call it here, I'm going to talk about how Cespedes performed for the Mets. He was outright phenomenal the rest of the year in 2015, slugging 17 homers in just 57 games, and he put up a 155 OPS plus and 2.1 WAR. He was so good that he finished 13th in NL MVP voting, despite playing only a third of the year there. He also ended up winning the AL Gold Glove for his defensive play with Detroit before the trade. And Cespedes' performance helped propel the Mets to a division title, their first in 9 years. In the first couple playoff rounds, he was a walking highlight reel, knocking 2 homers in the NLDS against the Dodgers, then gunning out Starlin Castro at home against the Cubs in the NLCS. But unfortunately, in the World Series against Kansas City, he struggled from the first pitch. Royal shortstop and leadoff bat Alcides Escobar hit a fly ball on Matt Harvey's first pitch in Game 1 that Cespedes misplayed, leading to the first inside-the-park homer in the World Series in more than 80 years. Cespedes struggled the rest of the series, batting just .150 without a single extra base hit, as the Royals won relatively easily in 5 games. After the season, Cespedes became a free agent and re-signed with the Mets on a new 3-year contract with an opt-out after 1. And his 2016 was amazing. He made the All-Star game, he won the Silver Slugger, and he finished a career-best 8th in MVP voting. Following the year, he triggered his opt-out and he signed a new 4-year deal with the Mets. Unfortunately, injuries began to take their toll, and while he performed generally well when he was healthy from 2017 to 2020, putting up a 128 OPS+, he only played 127 games over the 4 years, and most of those, 81, were in 2017. He missed all of 2019 after fracturing his ankle, and he played just 6 games in 2020 before opting out due to COVID concerns. Following the 2020 season, Cespedes' contract ended, and he hasn't played a major minor league game since. He's attempted to come back a couple times since, but has never really gotten that far. The furthest was his appearance for Cuba in the 2023 World Baseball Classic, in which he played 2 games, went hitless, and then left the team for unspecified personal reasons. Now that he's 38, his professional baseball career is almost certainly over. So for the trade portion of this video, the Tigers absolutely win the trade. The Red Sox did okay, right? They got a World Series title out of it. They got a Cy Young season out of Rick Porcello. But the Tigers have just gotten so much value, not just out of Cespedes, but out of the players they got with him and the players they got for him. It's been really tough 10 years for the Detroit Tigers, but a lot of the players who have been pretty solid contributors for them over the last decade came from this trade. Now, I don't think the Mets regret making the Cespedes trade. Maybe the second contract, where he barely played. They don't make the World Series without Cespedes in 2015. And his 2016 was phenomenal. It was out of this world. It was one of the most exciting seasons the Mets have seen in a long time. And so I don't think they regret making that trade, as good as Fulmer ended up being with the Tigers. Anyways, let me know down in the comments what you think of this trade tree. I added a couple extra things in there. I'm not sure if people are going to like them, but I figured it'd be fun for me, fun for you. And let me know if there's other players you want to see me cover, other trades you want to see me break down, and I'll see y'all next time.